Welcome back to the channel, my friends. Warhammer Man Studios. I'm Warhammer Man, and today we're taking a look at, well, we'll get there in a second. This video is sponsored by CMO Games. More on that later. Alright, so I jumped over to Warhammer community site, getting ready to make my daily video. Figured I would take a look. Probably not going to be anything too exciting, knowing that we have a big reveal show on Saturday. So I give it a little scroll, taking a look at everything. And as we get down here, you know, more of these 40-year articles, a classic battle report, celebrate Pariah Nexus. Nothing really jumping out at me. Again, more of like the 40-year stuff, yesterday's things. So really wasn't feeling any of this. So I thought, you know what, let me jump over and just take a little look-see. So I hit the downloads, went over to 40K, dropped down here, and oh look, what a surprise. Now keep in mind, the last few days, I've been checking this every day because I was anticipating happening. But here we have the brand new Munitorum Field Manual, updated 11/10/2023. And if you don't know what this is or why we're looking at it, this is the new updated points for Warhammer 40,000. So I did come over here and give it a little scroll, and it looks like nothing has changed except for Space Marines. Which makes sense, of course, because we're expecting the Space Marine Codex will be up for sale after the 2-week pre-order period this coming Saturday. And while Games Workshop has already shared the updated points with like a lot of like community YouTubers, etc., nobody's been able to actually post up the points. They can talk about them, they can say the point values, but they couldn't share the actual points document. So now here we have the actual points document, which probably a lot of people already have figured out like what has changed. I know Mikey from Hellstorm Wargaming has done like already an in-depth video about what points have changed and by how much. But it's nice to have the actual like resource in our hand and be able to look at it, see the correct points, and start doing our own like army building and everything. But I couldn't help but thinking, man, how disconnected is Games Workshop from reality? I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of moving pieces. We're talking about a company with a market cap in the billions of dollars. We're talking about a company that does hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue every single year. But some of the decisions that they make, some of the choices, are just so obviously the opposite of what they should do, or it's like a super obvious choice that they should make and then they don't make. Like for instance, I know that they don't like wake up every morning and just write their article right on the spot. I'm sure they're planning it ahead of time and everything, but why don't they ever put out a Warhammer community article letting us know that there's like the new Space Marine points over there? So maybe there is one coming later today, and I managed to kind of like sneak in the window where the actual points were already posted, but they hadn't put out the article yet. And who knows, maybe by the time this video comes out, that article will already exist, pointing you right to the updated Munitorum Field Manual. But it definitely just blows my mind that this wouldn't be an obvious choice for them. I mean, they have clearly leaned in heavy on like the competitive aspect, the constant updates and point changes for quote unquote balance. So with all that extra emphasis put on the actual like rules and the points and the competitive and the tournaments and the balance, you would think that somebody over at Warhammer Community would have gotten the memo sometime in the last couple weeks when Games Workshop shared the points with all of the creators or influencers or whatever to go ahead and get together an article and let the community know. But for whatever reason, that's just not the case. I don't want to sit here and dwell on it too much. It just seems really strange. It's crazy that I have to go like full detective status to find like the one thing that the community obviously wants the most. And it's not even just like a couple people in the community. I mean, Space Marines are by far the most popular faction. Something like 75% of people play Space Marines either exclusively or in addition to another faction. So it just seems like the obvious choice if you have something that everybody wants, everybody is waiting on, to lean in on that. Slap an article on Warhammer Community for that and let the people get excited and point them right at this new resource that everybody's been waiting on. Maybe they have by the time you're watching this video, but somehow I beat them to the punch. But enough of that. I'm not going to go through each individual point and talk about like what went up and by how much. You can obviously do that on your own. You can compare it to the previous editions of the Munitorum Field Manual and points. But I just wanted to kind of point that out to everybody, have a little look-see myself, and start doing some building. List building, that is. Now a quick message from today's sponsor. CMO Games has been selling Games Workshop products online for over 20 years. They carry the full line of Games Workshop products, including Warhammer 40,000, Age of Sigmar, Necromunda, Blood Bowl, paint tools, and more. Almost all Games Workshop products are priced at 15% off MSRP. CMO Games takes pre-orders for most Games Workshop products released at their earliest date possible. 12:01 a.m. on Saturday, they go live. Most of these pre-order products are also priced at 15% off MSRP. CMO Games offer free shipping in the US 48 with an order of $50 or more. Their customer service is top-notch and they ship most orders within 24 hours. Visit CMOGames.com using the affiliate link in the description and let them know that you heard about CMO Games from Warhammer Man. Now back to the video. So as you would expect, a lot of the Space Marine points actually have gone down. We do see quite a bit of changes, probably something close to like 50% of the Space Marine points. And we'll notice, like, for instance, something like aggressors, which is obviously a really good unit. Anything with twin link now is extremely good. So it's definitely important to note that a lot of the reason that the points went down is because they lost the reroll wounds for Oath of Moment. So previously you got to pick a target and reroll all hits and all wounds against that target with your entire army. And now it is just reroll all hits. So what that does is it makes having twin linked much more relevant, because obviously twin linked grants your weapon reroll wounds. So previously something that had twin linked might have seemed redundant, but now with these changes, they're extra good because obviously it is very difficult to get reroll wounds in this edition in general, specifically now without the Oath of Moment reroll for wounds. So very, very cool. So again, not going to go through like all of the individual like points changes and everything like that. Just wanted to point out that this document was now available. We'll take a look at just one thing that kind of jumped out at me as strange. So the Assault Intercessor Squad is 5 models and it's 80 points. And the Assault Intercessors with Jump Packs is 5 models and it's 85 points. Now, obviously, I don't have the new codex yet, but I'm pretty sure you still get to take like awesome war gear on the actual sergeant of the squad. So this seems like a completely ridiculous situation where you have basically an Assault Intercessor Squad for 80 points or an Assault Intercessor Squad with Jump Packs, substantially more movement and basically the same equipment options for 5 more points. Now, I'm sure that has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that Assault Intercessors, the actual models, are a dime a dozen, and Assault Intercessors with Jump Packs are a kit that just came out. So is Games Workshop using points or rules to sell models? Well, 100%. Of course they are. No surprise there. But I don't think we have seen it this blatantly obvious, literally spelled out right next to each other, as we do right here. Now, there are also some other differences than equipment and everything like that. You know, obviously, if you're battle line, somebody can take 6 of you, as where if you're not, you're limited to 3. But definitely interesting right there. So just scrolling on down here, you can see obviously that a lot of points have changed right here. And to tell you the truth, now like some of these lieutenants for 55 points, chaplain, and some of the other characters are really, really juicy. And the reason I say that specifically is if you're going to lose the reroll wounds, most of the lieutenants grant auto wounds on 6s to hit for the squad that they're leading. So you can bypass the wound roll altogether. And if you're already rerolling all the hits on your Oath of Moment target, increase the chance of you getting a 6 by 100%. And then something like the chaplain that gives you +1 to wound on the squad that he's leading. Not necessarily as good as rerolling wounds, but adding 1 to the wound roll is probably like the next best thing. And then there's units like the Inceptors, which actually went down by like 5 points, that have twin linked, that are absolutely amazing already, probably end up going up in points later on, but definitely doesn't make sense why they went down on points. Because something like aggressors that has like twin linked on their fists, either for shooting or for combat, they went up in points, obviously because they're better now with the rerolls to wound. But the Inceptors also have twin weapons. They don't have the combat profile, but they're absolutely amazing for scoring like secondary objectives. Being able to like deep strike in as long as you're 3 inches away from your enemy units is absolutely amazing, especially when everything else on the Space Marine roster has to use the normal deep strike rules and stay 9 out. So even if your opponent is screening you out effectively, it's almost impossible to screen out Inceptors, especially in like the later turns of the game. So very, very good unit, clearly undercosted at this point in time, because taking a couple small squads of Inceptors is basically going to guarantee you at least a few of those secondary objectives, maybe even some primary as well. So definitely some winners on the list here, unexpected, but you know, obviously some are more obvious. So yeah, very, very cool. We do see that Rabute Guleman has dropped by 20 points. He was 380, now he's 360. Obviously because one of his great abilities was to be able to oath a second target, and now that oath is only going to be reroll hits on that second target. We see Sternguard dropping down after they lost the shoot twice ability. And then, of course, a lot of the mortal wound spam from units like Sternguard was based on rerolling the wound roll, so they're not nearly as effective. And quite a few other points as well, some to the Storm Speeders. I think these are important because they're one of the few like fast-moving units that the Space Marines have. Losing Land Speeders was massive because having something around like 60 points that's super fast and also like pretty small with fly was huge. So them being gone now, this is probably like the closest thing. Maybe one of the little ATVs, but you know, obviously doesn't fly. Scouts are nice at 55 points for 5 wounds and some cool special abilities. Definitely going to be seeing lots of them, and then obviously new models on the way. And then of course we have all of the new detachments, and then of course the points for those enhancements as well. So the Gladius Task Force has like 1 change in the points for fire discipline, of course, which is absolutely awesome. And then we have the other 6 detachments and all of their points. So yeah, just wanted to point those out. No pun intended. Just kind of take a little look at the changes and everything. Obviously, it's going to take some time for everybody to mull these over, get into some list building. I definitely cannot wait for Saturday. Can't wait to get a hold of my codex, and can't wait to see how the Space Marines are going to perform with their new book. So let me know what you're most excited about. I'll have the link for this article down in the description so you can get a hold of the points. And keep your eyes out also for when and if Games Workshop does an article actually pointing to the points. Or if my earlier point was correct, that Games Workshop literally has no idea how excited everybody is to get a hold of these and somehow doesn't realize it because they didn't even bother to do a Warhammer community article or just point us in the direction. So yeah, very cool. Link in the description. Special thanks to CMO Games for sponsoring the video. Check them out to save 15% on Games Workshop products. That's it for today. Warhammer Man Studios, I'm Warhammer Man. And be honest, would you have noticed these points were up if I didn't point you in the right direction? And I'm out of here.